All right, so I'm sure most of you know that the United States is generally considered a Christian nation. However, according to the Pew Research Center, a nonpartisan think tank based in Washington, D.C. in 2015, they actually made a survey and found that 92% of Congress that was sworn in this exact year affiliate themselves as Christians. So these are the people that are making laws in society today. You should listen to me because I'm here to make you all superior participants in government. According to Richard Naimi of the Social Science Quarterly in 2010, he states that college students of our age generally do not vote in elections. And this is because college students generally don't feel adequate enough to make that decision because they don't have enough background information about their candidates. So today, we're going to take a look at the Ten Commandments. I'm going to start off by talking about the biblical history about these Ten Commandments and how they came to be. Second, I will go over the first 5 commandments, and lastly, I will teach you about the last 5 of these commandments. So we're going to start off talking about how these commandments actually came to be. According to Daniel V. Porter, with a PhD in biblical studies in 2010, he states that this biblical story takes us back about 3,800 years ago or so. So it starts off with this group of Israelites that settles in Egypt. And they are able to settle in Egypt because they have made a previous slave trade with the Egyptians. And that slave trade actually benefited the Egyptians greatly. So they were immensely thankful. And they settle. However, they thrive. They actually end up outnumbering this Egyptian population. So the Egyptians consequently are threatened by their number, and they decide to enslave them. So after God sees all the atrocities that these Israelites are facing, he decides to intervene, not only to save them from enslavement, but to also form a new group of followers. So God does this through the help of 2 men that are named Moses and Aaron, and God orders them to send this group of Israelites to Mount Sinai, where God will eventually meet up with them. And as well, he does this through supernatural fashion. So God kills off the firstborn of every Egyptian, and while they are mourning the loss of their firstborn, this is kind of the ticket for the Israelites to go ahead and flee. So when they get to the foot of Mount Sinai, this is where God is said to descend upon them and recite these 10 commandments. So now we're going to look at the first 5 of these commandments. According to Leo Mitchell Abrahami, the PhD in Hebrew Studies in 2011, he states that these first 5 commandments all have to do with the relationships between God and his followers. So although Leo Mitchell Abrahami, previously qualified, has a PhD in Hebrew Studies, he's very much qualified to talk about these 10 commandments, or Decalogue as he calls them, because Judaism and Christianity actually follow the same 10 commandments, and in that aspect they don't differ. So the first commandment states, I am the Lord your God. This is an affirmation for Christians to accept God's sovereignty. The next commandment is, you shall have no other gods before me. So this is a Christian affirmation for them to realize that their God is unique and no other divinities will compare. The next commandment states, you shall not take the name of God in vain. This is a pretty general commandment. It just tells Christians, teaches them to respect their God with the most respect possible. The next commandment is, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. So when Christians are remembering the Sabbath day, they are actually, you could say, paying homage to God and his 6-day creation story, as it is said in the Bible that God created the earth in 6 days and rested on the 7th. So when they rest on the 7th day, they are paying respect to God. And lastly, the 5th commandment states, you shall respect your mother and father. So by respecting your mother and father, Mitchell, previously qualified, states that there's a direct correlation between mother and father and God, in that for Christians, God is seen as the supreme mother and father of all humankind. So by respecting their mother and father, that translates to respecting God. So now we're going to take a look at the last 5 of these commandments. And as Mitchell previously qualified states, these last 5 commandments all have to do with the relationships between human interaction. So the sixth commandment states, you shall not murder. This teaches Christians to value human life. The next commandment, you shall not steal. So by not stealing, it is teaching Christians to allow others to be happy with their possessions and not interfere with the happiness of others. The next commandment states, you shall not commit adultery. By not committing adultery, these Christians are being taught family values, and they are being told to prioritize their family amongst God as well. The next commandment I'm going to cover states, you shall not covet. Now this commandment teaches Christians to be happy with their possessions and not seek their happiness elsewhere. Kind of just not try and find happiness outside of things that aren't achievable. And the last commandment states, you shall not bear false witness. So by not bearing false witness, Christians are being taught to value what is the truth. So Christians follow these commandments as their way of life. They follow them in order to seek fulfillment in their religious values. And these commandments translate to every aspect of their life. So today we went over the 10 commandments. I first taught you about the origin behind these commandments. Second, I covered the first 5 commandments, and lastly, I went over the last 5 of these commandments. So now, my fellow college students, you have no excuse to the next coming election. You have enough background information to go ahead and research and make a vote. So thank you.